everyone.
Yeah,
Welcome to the June 19th meeting of the Caradoc Housing Corporation. Roll call, everyone's in attendance. Can I have someone to approve the agenda, please? Colin, Heather, all in favor? Great. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. We have the meeting minutes of May 15th. Can I get someone, well, we'll do them both together. We also have the special meeting minutes of May 28th. Someone to motion the approval of the minutes of May 15th and the special meeting minutes of May 28th. Frank, seconded by Jeff, all in favor? Okay, any discussion or changes? Okay, financial matters. We have in front of us the accounts. We'll start by a motion that the check detail report be received for information. Someone to motion that. Heather, seconded by Colin. Any discussion regarding the check detail report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the financial reports. We have a motion that the May 2024 financial reports be received for information. Motioned by Frank, seconded by Heather. All in favor? Any discussion? Heather, of course. First, we'll start with Heather.
I'm just concerned because we're now, it shows that we're 131,000 in the hole, which concerns me greatly, so I just wanted that brought up, that it is noticed in the budget.
Okay, Colin, any comments?
Yeah, following up and full disclosure through you, I perused it quick, so that 131,000, is that just Caradoc Place? Is that the entirety? I'm sorry, I looked at it real quick this morning and I was gonna ask that. Was that, because I looked at the May.
That's just Caradoc Place, because
That's just Caradoc Place, so.
it shows the other.
Yeah, so what is it overall for the overall corp? Because if I looked at it properly this morning, yes, Caradoc Place is losing money. Queen Street was up. Did I see right that it's $8,000?
Plus 30, it's 100 net loss.
That's 100 net loss. That's where I was going, because I agree, like Caradoc Place, but we need to assess the total overall. It's bad. I just wanted clarification in my head. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And I assume we'll have more discussion regarding that later when we.
Yeah, it's still bad. I just wanted to.
Yep. And I didn't get a reply yet, but no, we'll save it for later. Okay, sorry, I was going down a road I shouldn't go down right now. Any other comments? Okay, all right. Seeing none, we will. Did we pass that motion? Did we, Janice? Thank you. We'll go down to correspondence. Sorry, I'm in the wrong video now. All right, so we have in front of us 3 items: a general review report, a Nicholson Sheffield architect report, final letter review, and a Caradoc Place fire alarm plan. Can I get someone to motion that these reports be received for information? Frank, seconded by Heather. Any comments? Heather?
One thing that concerns me is the solar panels haven't been, I couldn't find anywhere in those reports where they mention the solar panels. And that's still a big issue for me is A, what do they do? And B, has the problem over the that would occur over the winter with ice and snow built up been addressed?
So we have addressed the ice and snow buildup. You're talking about the guards. Yes, so Nicholson Sheffield did confirm that that was done. And that should be in there because that was
I couldn't find it.
Yeah, because they did ask, I did have to sign off on that, so it should be included in there. Tim, do you have anything to add about the solar panels following your mechanical review with them?
The solar company was out and they are monitoring it. We are generating solar power. There is a capability to monitor how much we're generating. I don't personally have that information with me, but it is information we can log in and see on a daily basis how much power we're generating on a monthly basis. So my understanding is that they are fully functioning.
And Tim, do you have the login information for that?
I don't, but maybe Shannon does. I don't
Okay.
know 100%. I don't personally, but
Okay.
it's available
It's
to us.
available, because I'm wondering if maybe you could attach that as part of your monthly reports, just a screenshot of, you know,
How much?
where we're at monthly.
Yeah.
That would be helpful. If you need any help getting the login, if Shannon doesn't have it, let me know, and I can reach out to them. Any other discussion regarding the reports? We are gathering all this information up to create a package, which we'll then forward to council. When we have the audited financials and everything, we'll just kind of put it all, I'm waiting to get it all nice and together. And then we can sort of, here's the end of the building phase of the project, and here's everything for council's perusal or further information. All right, we'll move on to our property management report. We have the report in front of us, and we'll just motion to approve those reports, the June 24th report for information. Heather, seconded by Jeff, all in favor? Okay, we'll start with Tim.
So at the time of writing the report, we had 22 units rented. Today we're at 26. So the rent up is still going well. I spoke with both Levi and Shannon this morning. There's 4 more promising appointments this week. 1 this afternoon and 3 more later on. So we are getting interest. That's good. We're at 11 units left to rent. So I mean, they are renting, they're just not full. Promising anyway. We got one of the leases was through MLS, so listing it with the realtor.ca did generate one of the new leases. Shannon's still been working on getting the Queen Street stuff moved over into our software. I'm waiting to actually do the rent poll until we get the banking set up finished, so that we're not pulling the rent. Anyway, we're in the process of switching to Tempo banking, and I want the cash management set up so I don't have to do it twice. So I don't know whether the July 1st rent will be done, but for sure by the end of the next month, we'll be pulling the rent for Queen Street. We had the meeting with Southside to understand the mechanical better. There was a few things that we went through that they're going to make changes on. One of the big things we realized was that the master controls for the heating and cooling system were in the units. So there was 4 master controls in people's units. So if you had heat on and somebody else was calling for AC, but you had the master control, you turned heat on for that whole group of apartments. So that was creating havoc because we kept turning the AC on when it was warm. Somebody would be cold, turn their heat on, and they happened to have the master control, which then turned their whole loop on heating. So they're going to move the master controls out of the units. They haven't done it yet, but that was going to be no cost to us, and it shouldn't have been installed that way. So that was a good thing. The other thing that we talked about, and we'll have to watch our hydro bills, is we put essentially a heat pump water heater in for efficiency, which is supposed to be, it's green, but it isn't cost efficient. We have a natural gas boiler system that's designed to take our entire demand of hot water. So if we find that our utility bills, specifically hydro bills, are really high, that system that's on the roof that's doing the hot water is very expensive to operate. So the suggestion was if it becomes too costly, essentially we could shut the system down that's on the roof and the building would still function totally fine. It would just be a little less green, but it would be less expensive to operate. So that's something to watch. That's not a me approval, that's up to you guys. We had some quotes done for tree removal at Queen Street, as well as concrete, ripping the patio out in the front that's all heaved and replacing with concrete, some new sod around, and then some new red maple trees in the front yard to replace the ones that we took out. So we were looking for approval on those attached quotes. That's,
Can you tell me, just remind us why we're removing trees?
the trees that are there, the roots are really high to the ground, so that's what's caused the patios to heave. And so I think by the time we rip out what's there, they're gonna be damaged and end up dying, and we also didn't want them to heave the new concrete, so we're gonna move the new trees closer to the road, and away from the patio.
Any other questions for Tim? Heather?
I have a list. Thanks to one of the tenants in Queen Street, he did a scope of work for that project on his own, and very concise, very good. One thing I noted in the quotes you gave, the quotes aren't clear to the scope of work, and it needs to be revised to include the following, okay? Utility locates, who's handling the cost of that? Because I'm sure there'll be utility
Doesn't
locates.
cost, they don't cost anything.
Okay, but who's going to handle that? That's not in the quote. Access to the property hadn't been mentioned. Recommendation is that it be Queen Street up the lawn so that trucks or anything don't damage the current parking lot and stuff. There's no mention of removing the stumps and roots, because if you leave them and you don't kill off the roots, they continue to go, and we'll just have the same problem again. Concrete does not include a curing compound. The topsoil should be weed-free. In there it says seeding. We need to sod there, not seed. There's no work start date and completion date indicated anywhere. And we need to have removed and salvaged the benches that are there, the plants that are in the garden that's coming out, and the checker table and stools, which I found out is a very personal piece to that property.
The what, sorry?
The checker table and stools, okay? So they need to be salvaged, not destroyed. So I think I made a copy for you of his what he feels is required, which should be of help to you, but I also feel that we today, as this is this board's last meeting before the AGM and a new board is coming on, that we should not commit to a cost at this point. I think it should be the new board that approves the expense going forward. I don't think we should approve it on their behalf.
Colin?
Yeah, just as procedure, put on my mayor hat, this is a capital, and I think all capital from Caradoc Housing has to go to council. I want to get this done, but it's a recommendation, so if we as a board, and I would probably vote in favor of it as a board member, that we do the work, but just cognizant of the fact that it has to go to municipal council for approval. I just curious, because I probably, it needs to be done as a board member.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the process and the approvals.
The problem with the area is it's a health and safety issue, and someone's going to trip there. So we have to present it as a health and safety issue to be fixed, and it needs to be done. I'm not sure if, I'd have to review the current bylaws to see if we still have to, for capital projects, go through. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I think that might have changed, but even still, I don't think the current board should approve a cost to go to council when there's a new board coming on to be at the AGM.
So I'll make a motion to defer the decision till the next meeting.
But if there's urgency to this, why are we?
Yeah, yep.
Like, I
It's-
appreciate there's a new board, but really, the new board is one new person, and so
Okay.
it's a change.
Well, the current quote doesn't cover a number of things that have to be done, so we can't approve the quote today if it's missing things.
Well, might be some dispute over whether things are missing or not.
Well, that's why I think it has to be looked at properly. I've had 3 different people view the quotes that came in who have this experience, and this is what they came back with.
Okay, so Tim did collect the quotes, so we'll let him speak on it, but I am looking at it right now, and the one does say sod and topsoil, and the other one does say stump removal. So on the 2 points I wrote down, they're both quoted there.
Stump removal is different than root removal.
Okay, we'll let Tim speak to the quotes, please. Thanks, Tim. Heather, can you turn off your mic? Oh, sorry, Colin did put a motion on the floor, so.
It wasn't seconded, so.
It wasn't seconded, so we'll just leave it. Okay, thanks. Tim?
We think that we have everything covered off that we need to do on the project. We have the stump removal included in there. We have, there's sodding. We believe that we have a complete quote. I guess from my side, if we're gonna take direction and have the tenants do scopes of work, then we should do that ahead of time, and then I'll price out their scope of work. But if you're gonna rely on us to provide what you think needs to be done, or what we think needs to be done, then that's what we're here to do. I won't waste my time gathering quotes and doing projects if we're gonna have the tenants write the scopes of work.
Heather?
Well, I tend to disagree with you because I reviewed the quotes, and as a board member, I identified things that were of concern to me. It was through afterwards that I got some really good thoughts on this, but I had already identified these issues. I did not see what type of scope of work you asked for. I don't see what, you didn't show what scope of work you asked of these people.
Well, I'm just gonna say that as the chair, we gave Tim a direction. We knew what the work was to be done. I'm not a landscaper, so I'm not gonna go into nobody here is dive into deep detail. So I feel that Tim did do what we asked. If there were things missing, then yes, as a board member, it's totally appropriate that at a meeting like we're doing now, you bring that forth. And we will have a tenant on the board going forward who would be, who will also, in the future, that board member will be able to speak for tenants and provide their voice to the conversation. But at this point, I think we, as a board member, if you have concerns or things that were missed, then you direct them to Tim, who we gave direction to do something on, and if he needs to come back with further quote, then he can. But I think that it really needs to be decided with us.
But excuse me, that's what I was saying. Tim, I think there's things missing.
Okay, so can we have an itemized list? Just what do you think is missing?
I just read it off.
Could you please repeat it? Thank you.
No mention of the utility locates. Who's going to do that? Is it going to be Tim? Is it going to be the tree guy? Is it going to be the concrete guy? Access to the property wasn't mentioned in the quote, which is a concern. Removing of stumps. I didn't see where the roots were included. Removal of the bait. They talk about removing the bricks that are there, but there's no mention that the base also has to be removed. I just didn't find it either quote clear on the work that was going to be done.
Okay, so I think Tim has addressed utility locate is no cost. And do you know who would do that?
Each contractor
would do it?
Each contractor is responsible to get their own locates. Anybody that's gonna do any digging, they have to get their own locates. So the stump removal guy would have to get his own locates. The concrete company that's doing the excavation work would have to get their own locates. The tree planting person would have to get their own locates. The locates aren't covered under an individual. You have to each get your own. So there's no cost to them. So that would be on the contractors.
Property access, do you know where they plan?
It'd be off Queen Street, like we're digging up the front yard, so they're gonna come in off of Queen Street, I would assume so. Like there'd be no other logical place for them to come off of except off of Queen Street.
Okay. Stump, does it include roots? Could you get that confirmed with them?
I can confirm it, but they're going to be digging out and prepping for concrete, so they have to remove what's there and prep. So when they're there with the Mini X doing that work, or backhoe or whatever equipment they have in doing it, I'm sure that they'll be taking the roots out at the same time.
And then brick removal, does it also include the base?
Yeah.
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 And you're confident that that's part of the
Yes.
discussion? All right, any further comments? Heather?
I think it's great, Tim, that you assume they'll do this, but I want to know that they're doing it, okay? Assuming is one thing. I mean, I could have a pulpit in and assume they're gonna do a bunch of things, and then they come back and say, no, I'm not doing it. So that's all I'm asking for. And the removal and salvage of the benches that are there, and the checker table and stools, that's nowhere in there, because that's going to be a cost, an additional cost.
Chair, I wonder if a way to round this is to accept the quote based on these conditions and list a successful answering of these, whatever the conditions are, completion of, you know, access to be off of Queen Street, right, Tim? Removal of the benches and that, just, if it's a yes check on those, we're okay. Just, that would be my suggestion.
Tim?
I guess from what I'm hearing and where my head's at, maybe what we should be doing is waiting as a property management company for the board to come up with a scope of work, and then we'll go get your quotes for you. Because we're not in the business of writing scopes of work. I'm happy to gather quotes, but we're not, you know, and that can go for everything then, like, I mean, we've done what we think, and as if we're treating it like it's our own property and bid it like it's our own property. If the board's wanting us to do something different than treating it like it's our own property, then we're happy to take direction.
So I'm hearing that it's an urgent matter on the one hand. However, if we delay and write up a scope of work, give that back to the property manager, allow them to get some quotes, we have to wait for a couple more meetings, we're gonna be the end of the season before that work gets done. So I guess as a board, I'm looking for some feedback as to how you would like to proceed. Paul, you have your hand up?
That was just my
Oh,
internal.
just scratching?
Scratching my head, which you don't do it in auction, but I think the equitable way is just make it that the board approve the concrete work, subject to these conditions being met, right? And put that in writing. It's whatever they may be, if there's 5 or 6, and we empower the property manager that if, you know, the onus will be on him that these conditions have been met, you know, the locates is one thing, but the removal of the benches, those, just get that in writing, and then I would be okay with that.
Jeff?
Tim, would you be okay with that? Thank you, by the way, for doing this.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So just put up with those conditions.
I would be ready to,
Okay, did you want to make a motion then?
yeah.
Okay, so the motion, I'm just gonna read it back for Jen, if I understand Colin, will be, the motion is that we approve the quotes as provided with confirmation of the following items. And we're gonna list,
And there was only 3 that.
well, that we were removal and salvaging of the benches and tables. That the brick removal includes the base, that the stump removal includes the roots. I don't think we had to talk about utilities.
Chest table.
And the chest table, sorry, it was benches and chest table. Jeff. Okay, someone to second the motion? Frank, all in favor? Carried.
Thanks again, Tim.
The other thing I wanted to touch base on quickly,
Can I, a question about something actually right from the beginning? Are we using these or not using these, or? no?
Well, we're being videoed, so it does help.
Sort of. Well, I'm not sure, don't be sorry, because I'm not sure either, so. On the 11 units that are left, you mentioned something about real estate. Like what does a real estate agent charge to lease
so it
lease
was,
that? And should we be looking at more, although there seems to be a fair bit of interest continuing, but I mean, if it gets to a point where, yeah, would there be benefit in using a realtor to
think we did that last meeting.
Yeah, sorry, Frank, I think you missed the last meeting.
Yes, I
So
did,
we
yep.
agreed to let it, put it on MLS.
Okay.
So that's where that came from.
Okay.
And I believe we pay 1 month rent
Okay.
is the commission
All right, yep,
to the realtor.
all right, super.
So that's, you've still got it up, I assume, and we'll continue with that? Okay.
Yeah, we're continuing to keep it listed.
Sorry about
No,
that.
that's okay.
The other thing I just wanted to touch base on quickly was we haven't got stuff together for condition reports yet. And I'm just wondering from our own timing, whether we're better to get the units ready to rent and do the condition reports after Caradoc's full, because we're taking a lot of time doing showings, doing leases, keeping that building momentum going, and that's where the time's been lacking to go to properly address Caradoc, as far as building condition reports and the renovation. I just wonder if we should get the units to a point where we can rent them, and then work on the building condition report and the future renovation of Caradoc as a later project after Caradoc's full.
And I believe I forwarded to you a couple of names.
I have.
Have you been able to reach out to
I
them?
haven't got a hold of them yet.
I'll hold them, okay.
So, but we still can keep going. I just hate having the units open necessarily.
And not rented.
So I'm just wondering, when Caradoc's full, that'll take the pressure off this board from a loss situation. You'll be at a profit situation, which just might be a better time. And while we're filling it, the time that it's gonna take to do the work, to get to a renovation, I just don't know that we have it right now. Just manpower-wise. So I just wondered if it made more sense to get them ready to rent as minimally as we can and deal with that in the future. I don't know your thoughts.
Okay. Anybody want to comment on that? My comment would be, I think initially I was a little concerned about leaving it empty, so I still feel the same way. I feel like if they're, safe and we can make them, safely inhabitable, if there's, then we should rent them, because I think by the time we get an outsourced company to do the condition report and we apply for the grants, and then we'll have to get quotes before we get the grants. I mean, we're months and months away from doing anything with those, and if we fill them, that means we don't have any vacancy, but, we seem to have a consistent couple of units come available a year there, so I'm not concerned about that. So I would be in favor of going ahead and getting them rented, and I think that our bottom line certainly suggests that we need the income. But I'm open to other people's comments. Heather?
I thought as a board, we had agreed that we would do the fix-ups to 2 of the 3 and rent 1. We had already agreed that as a board, so why is it coming forward again as a board?
We agreed that we were gonna get quotes, and then at a later meeting, there was this funding that became available that Tim proposed to us, but it requires a third-party assessment. So that's the route we were going on to see if we could get, because we don't have the money. So this was at $10,000 a unit, was it? So, but first we have to get a condition report. So at a meeting, I contacted municipal staff who get condition reports for municipal property, as well as I consulted with Devonshire Consulting, and they gave me a name too. So that's what we are referring to, that Tim is trying to follow up with them, because we need to find out what's involved, what that costs, because that would be step 1. We can't just, that's what the decision was.
Okay, if you're going to go ahead and fill those 2 units, what repairs are you doing before you rent them? Because I'm the only one that has, other than Tim, who has viewed those 3 apartments involved. The rest of the board has not looked at them.
No.
So I'd like to know if you're gonna make them habitable. 2 of them need a lot of work, especially 1. So what work is the property manager proposing to do before he moves people in there? Or is he just gonna move them in, leaving the units as they are right now?
We're happy to take direction on whatever work you want us to do. We're happy to recommend what we think we would do, or take direction either way. I just think that the time frame is gonna be a lot longer than what I initially thought, and that the priority is getting Caradoc rented. And I think we might be better to put a Band-Aid on Queen Street for better terms and get them rented so that we'd have the revenue coming in and deal with the building as a whole in the future.
Jeff?
Yeah, I gotta say that, I think we're 100,000 down right now. Let's get to work on that. Let's make sure it's safe, let's make sure it's presentable, and leave the rest for another project.
Okay, so, I'll motion then, or I can't bring a motion to the floor, can I, as a chair? We need some direction to give Tim on how to proceed with those units. Would anybody like to do that? Jeff?
I'll propose what I just said. Let's get Queen Street safe, just like the cement. Let's get it presentable, those units presentable, and get them rented.
Okay, anybody to second the motion? Or amended, is there anything you want added to it? Oh,
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, Jeff. I don't, the word safe, I could drive a truck through, right? Now, that's my issue. Like, I wanna do something, like if, I don't understand the cost, and Heather's right, I should go through the building too to see what kind of shape it's in. So I'm in agreement, we need to do something to get it going, it's just the worrying of what, say, like, we have to spend the money sooner, like,
yeah. Tim?
So I just I have some faith in.
no, I do too, I just don't know what the words say, like, what are we talking?
What if we brought back what our recommendation
Yes.
is for the
Yes.
next meeting?
Yes, I would
That's
agree
what I was
with
looking
that.
for.
I would
Yeah.
agree with that.
I don't wanna spend a whole bunch of money if we're gonna turn around and renovate the building.
Right.
But it has to be to a point where we're comfortable renting, and we don't rent.
Absolutely.
Right.
As a whole, we don't rent any units that are in
Yeah,
bad
no, I
repair.
understand.
Bad repaired units that are in bad repair generate tenants that are bad tenants, so, we always like to put a good product forward. So I'm happy to get something,
Yes.
bare necessities figured out. But if there's something specific that somebody wants, I would rather know that ahead of time so that, we can encompass it all in one job. So if there's any recommendations, maybe in the next week or so from the board, that you guys want to see done for sure, if you can let me know, then we'll incorporate that in.
So Jeff, would you take that amendment to your motion that property manager come back with a list, I guess, or a proposal?
Description?
Yeah, a description and proposal of the work required to bring the apartments up to a standard to be rented for the next meeting. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay. Someone to second that motion? Colin, all in favor?
Yeah. And Tim, I'd like to thank you again for
Oh,
bringing it up.
Heather, order, please, be respectful. Jeff? No, well, you'll wait till you're called. Someone is speaking. No, that's not okay. I'm not okay with that. Sorry, Jeff.
I'm sorry, maybe I jumped in and I didn't see your hand, I apologize. I just wanted to thank Tim for bringing it up to our attention.
Okay, we're going to move into, the next item was our external audit of Caradoc Place. I just wanted to bring to everyone's attention that at a recent council meeting, council approved phase 1 of the audit from BDO. And so that work, I expect, will be commencing shortly. Okay. Next, we're going to move to in-camera. So we need a motion that the board move into closed session for the purpose of discussing the following. One item in accordance with council's procedure bylaw to approve in-camera meeting minutes, and one item pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended, regarding personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board and board nominations. Someone to bring the motion? Jeff, second. Colin, all in favor? Okay. We'll just wait for a moment. are back in open session, and recommendation, we have a motion that the Caradoc Housing Corporation hereby appoints Jean-Paul Deschanel in a one-year term to be considered for election to the Board of Directors by the members at the annual general meeting in the capacity of a tenant resident board nominee for a position, okay? Do we pass that motion? Yeah, 7-2.
It's a motion?
Yeah,
Second.
Jeff?
Second.
Frank? All in favor? Okay. Any inquiries or comments by members? Heather?
Yeah, just two things. Sorry if I was loud earlier, I apologize. I've asked twice for Bill Dakin to give us a listing of the improvements made to Queen Street since 2018, and I'm still waiting for it. He doesn't even reply. And in his quote to me, or when I asked for this listing, he had said in the email that he could only give capital improvements to Queen back to 2018 as the building was owned and run by someone else, but I don't know who that was. So I've asked that question and I still haven't got an answer. And the second thing I wanted to mention was, as the board never approved the actual contract for the property management and we were never presented with a copy, I've asked for a copy of that twice too and I haven't received it.
So we did not have we issued a memorandum of understanding, and that did come to the board and that was approved.
But a copy of it was never shown to us.
The memorandum of understanding?
No,
That would have
it
been came to a board meeting, did it not, Jen? Yeah.
Yep.
I was at every board meeting and it was never presented.
Well, we can get you a copy of that.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that, just to see what the scope of work is on the memorandum of understanding.
Anybody else? Frank?
Just a comment. It's my last meeting, so I just wanted to mention, certainly in terms of the loss for the year, it's not going to be made up even if 11 units get rented tomorrow. So we have to acknowledge that there will be a loss for Caradoc Place for 2024, and you know, the goal has to be to continue to get those units rented, and hopefully 2025 will be at least a break-even or profitable year. And so, yeah, I wish the group well moving forward. Really, it's going to be tight all the way through because there isn't a lot of space there, and really the only thing at this point that can be done is to increase revenue, and that means renting those units out. And so hopefully that will happen soon.
Thank you. I just want to give a big thank you to the Mount Bridges Home and School Association and Sherry. There was a group of volunteers that went out to Parkview Manor and did some gardening and planting just to help, you know, bring some sunshine to the residents, and we sincerely appreciate their efforts, and I hope to have photos in the next day or two that we can share on our social media and I'll get it on the webpage too. But I just want to formally thank them, and I look forward to getting down there and seeing, although with this bypass thing, I don't seem to be going through Mount Bridges very much anymore. I'm taking around it.
And I would just add, because I was there for a minute, and was it Sherry?
Yeah.
that I saw? Yeah, big smile, she was so happy to be there, really nice.
Yeah, it's very nice to see the community support, much appreciated. All right, motion to adjourn the meeting. Frank, seconded by Jeff, all in favor? Pass. Thank you so much for attending.